firstly, our co-CEO from Embat, who's going to facilitate the session, Tony. Antonio Berg, the CFO at Speechmatics. Anton Globus, the Group Director and Finance and Innovation Lead at Paysend. And then because we ran out of Antony's and Anton's, we've got Peir, the CFO at Pigment, and Ross Latta, the co-founder and CEO of MacroFin. So thanks very much.
Thanks, Theo. So we thought of doing this panel today to gather some insight from finance leaders as to how they are adopting AI. And we're going to talk about 3 topics around AI. One being how they and their companies have adopted AI over the last couple of years. I would also touch upon the ROI and how you guys think about ROI payback once you guys implement AI. And lastly, around talent, that I'm sure you guys you will have an opinion on. Maybe starting with Anton. Anton, by the way, is CFO at Paysend. So Anton, how far have you guys gone in terms of AI, adopting AI? Is this just sort of using ChatGPT, or you gone farther than that? And yeah, how do you think about it?
Thank you. So, personally, I definitely use ChatGPT. Yeah, my family uses ChatGPT as well. But moving back to Paysend and the work environment, so we are very selective about where and how we use AI, and the reason being is that in finance we have a very low tolerance for the error, right? Like unlike sort of other areas of the business, probabilities don't work quite as well. So we have to be precise, and particularly to be able to implement AI at scale, we need very good quality data, right? And like data quality and data consistency are typically one of the biggest issues that startup and scale-up companies have, and even mature companies have. So to be able to really gain the benefit of AI, you need to firstly fix your data pipelines. So we are well on that journey, and we spend a lot of time on that. And I think once we get to that hurdle, then AI at scale will be more useful. Automation, on the other hand, is something that we deeply interested in because we're in payment space. We process millions of payments a month. So in settlement and reconciliation, in banking feeds, there's a lot of effort to integrate and automate those processes, right? And in the wider business, obviously in the payment space as well, we use AI products in KYC onboarding and money laundering controls, and then equally in fraud monitoring, right? So those are the areas where machine learning really kind of yields itself to a useful application. Okay, thank you so much. Ross, I think you have a unique position here. You run MacroFin. MacroFin is one of the leading tech advisors in the space, implementing NetSuite and other solutions for finance departments. What do you think is the bottlenecks that are holding back financial departments adopt AI? Do you think it's data quality? Is more about the cultural willingness to adopt it?
So including NetSuite, we've worked with. Is that working? There we go. Yeah, so we implement NetSuite. So we've implemented for over 220 businesses. So we're speaking to CFOs every week about their challenges. And what we're finding is the automation dividend will come from digital maturity in your tech stack and in your systems and your processes. So the AI will be valuable, but right now we're probably taking a more wait and see, maybe in a bit of a cynical position when it comes to helping our clients plan out what they need to do. So we really think it should be built on strong processes first, really strong data quality, and then well-trained teams. When we speak to a lot of clients, their data really can be in quite a mess. They might have disparate systems, legacy ERPs, lots of spreadsheets that they use. And so you're not going to get the benefits, real benefits of AI until you've automated your processes, integrated these different systems, and have really strong governance over that data that's flowing in. And then we think is AI better leverage the capabilities within NetSuite, Oracle, other products. Even we're noticing that CFOs we speak to, their mentality's changed in the last 18 months as well. So we'd see RFPs where we're expecting full agentic automation to fully automate the month-end process, book all the journals. But we're starting to see that temper a bit now, and people are realizing they've got to fix the messy data that they have in place, integrate that with like core up-to-date systems. I even saw, I think, in the Financial Times was an article about the Right Move investment and the impact that had on their stock price. And 75% of CFOs are seeing some benefit from investment in AI in their organizations, but only 5 to 6% are seeing any reduction in cost or increase in revenue right now. So for us, it really is get these core things in place first, so you're there already with the data in the good systems for an AI to leverage and use those tools.
And Ross, talking about what Statis was mentioning before from Google, do you see like people looking for solutions per se, like from a business perspective, or they're looking for AI for the sake of AI?
There definitely was AI for the sake of AI, and I think CFOs worried that there's all this hype and these huge cost savings that you might see, but that's sort of, as I said, being a bit tempered now, and we're just helping educate our clients about get all the core fundamentals in place with a well-trained team who really understand automation, understand data quality, and then are real critical thinkers to test what AI produces.
Understood. Yeah. Jay, you have also a unique position here from Pigment. So I have 2 questions in one. So how do you guys adopt AI within Pigment as you as a finance leader and also in your team, but also for your end customer, from your customer base? How do you put as well AI into their systems?
Great. Perfect. This is working. There's a few things that Ross and also Anton said that I wanted to echo. So at Pigment, we do have a unique perspective. We're an AI-first business planning, performance management platform. So we're helping customers like Deliveroo, Klarna, Chime, and Figma with their financial planning. And what we're seeing, and we sit at really the intersection of data, finance, and increasingly AI. What we're seeing in the market is there's a lot of intent, and it goes to your statistics, Ross, that you talked about. There's a lot of intent, but the actual scalability and deployments are still relatively sparse from that perspective. And the barriers are, to echo what you said, Ross, related to data quality, related to governance and automation and systems. When you have planning and FP&A processes and spreadsheets, AI and AI agents can't really easily discern, I think, well, one, the governance and also the meaning behind those spreadsheets. So at Pigment, a core part of what we do is bring together data, people, and processes, and that sets the foundation for the AI platform and agentic technologies. And Antonio, to your question, so internally and across customers, the initial use cases are really about improving efficiency. So things like internally, we use it for BVA analysis and deep dive on spend analysis. What used to take hours or days now can be, a first draft is quickly done, and we're seeing that with our customers. Carta has automated ARR reporting from hours to minutes. But I think the bigger value comes when you can really impact business performance. And so there are some emerging use cases that we're seeing where it's building upon a global CPG company helped to really uses us for, a beverage company uses us for inventory management to really monitor inventory levels, monitor changes in demand forecasts and orders, and proactively suggest ways to help optimize your inventory levels. So those are the different pieces. And maybe to Anton's point, what we're finding with agents is you really need to spend time tuning the agents. So they're just, we call them missions, but it's the first couple iterations need to be improved upon until it really understands, I think, the terminology, the context to really make the value. But we're certainly starting to see the value. And I think as we go forward, we'll really shift finance from, a lot of time spent reconciling and reporting on data to being more strategic.
Excellent. Maybe last question on this topic for you, Antony. Antony is the CFO at Speechmatics, and Speechmatics is a AI tool, voice AI tool for healthcare. So based on your experience with LLMs, agents, what do you think is the key requirement for a company to run a successful AI pilot or to implement an AI solution?
Hi, so we do medical models, but we also very much in that agent space, doing voice agents and being a key part of that ecosystem, providing real-time transcription. I think with LLMs, I think people made some really good points around, importance of data, high-quality data, processes, and how you can automate them with AI. What I would say is it's also about your tech stack. So if you've got a really good tech stack, if you've got a strong ERP, they should be using AI within that, and you should be looking to there's some fantastic new ERP systems that are out there, and similarly with FP&A tools as well, you'd expect them. So you still should rely on those systems, but ultimately, when you're using LLMs within finance outside of those sort of tech stack, what I say is let's start with the quick wins. So what is an agent? An agent can be is basically like a new app. So you can create an agent using one of the LLMs in a safe environment. If you're a Microsoft user, you can use Copilot and make sure that it's only looking at your information. And so, unfortunately, within finance, for example, we often end up with the legal, company's house matters and also the investor agreements. And so one simple way that we've recently used is we created an area which was full of all our investor agreements and statutory requirements, and we created an agent that basically looked at that information and every time, and told them, you are, our company secretary, you create, and every time we needed some information, we would go back through that agent, and that agent would prepare our board minutes and those things. Start with the quick wins, and that's time saving, and you really feel it. But as we get to more towards agentic AI and doing that sort of thing, I think that's later on. You've got to build up the trust and the systems.
Great. Now, changing topics and moving towards the ROI that I think is important, and as well, the team spoke about it earlier. Again, to you, Anton, whenever you take an investment decision to the board around a new tool of AI, is more about the AI itself, or is more about ROI or payback, or whether it's worth the investment? And if so, what are the KPIs that you look at?
Right. So I think it's not binary, right? It's not one or the other in reality. So whatever investments we make, particularly if they're sort of at scale, they have to be justified with very clear kind of OKRs and KPIs. So Paysend is very OKR driven. So our strategy, sort of quarterly, annual strategy, is all around the OKRs, which describe what we will do and then what we won't do. And in this case, there has to be tangible benefits. Either you have to measure them up front. Like, what do you expect, right? Do you expect, I don't know, volume growth? Do you expect revenue growth? Do you expect productivity savings? Okay, how much productivity savings do you expect? Do you expect less people? Do you expect to free up 4 hours a day? So all of that needs to be very clearly spelled out and presented. Of course, you can have experiments, right? So experiments are always good. The experiments can be more flexible. Let's try this. But again, even if you experiment, define what is it that you're experimenting with and what does success look like. I think that's really important to avoid just sort of shifting left, right, and center.
And how about you, Jay? You were mentioning about this solution around inventory management. Again, two questions for you because of your experience as well at FP&A is, again, how do you measure internally, and also do your end customers track that as well, the investment and whether it was worth?
So internally, we do. There's probably soft and harder measures of efficiency, time savings, certain tasks that become automated. And I think this is probably true for some of our customers as well in terms of the real tangible is this used to take, you know, a week to do. Now it can be done quickly times X number of times. But the bigger impact is when AI and agents can be really used to make better and faster decisions. And so by speeding that up, you know, instead of when you're creating scenarios or creating plans, sometimes being able to react in days is no longer quick enough versus in today's world, if there's changes in supply chain, in tariffs, other things. I think being able to react quickly, there's a bigger impact. I mean, it's harder to measure because of there's no alternative world of if I hadn't made that decision in this time frame, this is the impact. But I think that's the bigger piece where being able to quickly scenario plan. Our customer, another customer, overnight, due to some tariff changes, we're able to create scenarios on how the pricing impact and on their profitability. But that's, and then make some decisions. But that's the biggest impact longer term.
Yeah, and Antony, you mentioned before that governance was very important. How do you think about, how do you think companies can protect themselves from making mistakes around, like, for example, data leakage or data governance? Do you have any advice on that?
Yeah, so I always say, always check with your tech team and your infrastructure to make sure what you should and shouldn't use. And the other part is just to make sure also with your models that you've turned data, the data's only yours and it can't be used. And also, and I sound like you know, Microsoft, if you're using Copilot and you're using it in your environment, that's been really effective. It wasn't as good as ChatGPT. For some reason, they managed to build a layer on top that made it worse, even though they were using ChatGPT. But now with the infrastructure, you can make sure it just searches through your work environment too. But also, it does hallucinate, and I think there's a real. People take it as gospel, and it's not gospel. It really does hallucinate. And if you decide to go and book your cinema tickets through ChatGPT and ask them for the cinema times, and you rock up at the cinema, I can pretty much guarantee it won't be at that time. So don't trust it, and so you always need a human in the loop. Is my recommendation today.
Actually, speaking about ourselves, we do, as Theo was introducing before, we do at Embat treasury management. And whenever we implement AI solutions to our customers, we always say the same. We say there are certain processes that you can run them in a, what we call silent mode, basically running end-to-end, right? But there are certain processes, for example, payment orchestration, that you always need human validation or human in the room, right? Because you wouldn't allow a sort of an agent run payments without human intervention, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So Ross, again, as a trusted advisor, and I guess because you suffer a lot of, you know, the implementation processes, and I presume that one of the most affected processes is actually implementing itself, you know, the software. Do you think AI is gonna just speed up implementation processes, or you think it's gonna change dramatically the way we think of workflows in the implementation of a solution?
Currently at the moment, we're not seeing like major benefit from AI in the implementation process. It's great for like tracking notes and minutes and being really accurate in the documentation that you create, because it's really key to get your key processes agreed so that when you're building the system and testing it, you're going back to what you designed. So definitely improvements there. But I guess I go overall in the implementation of the software and then getting the benefits from it. It's still, again, is focus on the integration of these workflows first to get your technology talking to each other. And you see use cases I've seen on interviews or articles about how it can help in the accounting space. And it could be an agentic AI can read your expense or vendor bill to help scan that and predict the category. But we've already had that for quite a while with tools like Payhawk have done that really well and integrate nicely into the system. Or examples of helping copy data, customer data lists from one place in your business to another. But if you just have a really good integration between your CRM and your ERP, that problem's already solved as well. So I think you really got to look at these end-to-end workflows first, invest in those, because it is a bit concerning with how much money is being invested in AI without a lot of tangible benefits yet. When you do know what the costs of putting an ERP is and the cost of putting in best in practice tools around it, it's very sort of more defined. You can use the AI to help be more accurate in the design of the solution and mapping out the processes so it does work well from day one, and you start to see those benefits quickly of like having just connected systems and one source of truth.
I kind of echo that, and actually when we think of it as well as how we can put AI in our implementation processes, the way we think of it is, can we effectively implement while we are selling? Because I think one of the things that, or one of the reasons why finance departments are actually holding back in their decision to implement a solution is because they don't have visibility as to how the implementation is going to go, whether it's going to be successful, right? So if you have the chance to, by using AI, selling, and at the same time implementing, you might shorten the sales cycle, at the same time reducing the risk of a failed implementation.
Yeah, I agree. And I guess another point I'd add as well is when you are picking the solution providers, they might not have the AI technology to bring like dramatic benefits yet, but pick one that gives you confidence they are investing in it so that when you have that system embedded, you will get the benefits of AI from that platform. So yeah, be very rigorous in your due diligence, understand what their investment plan's in, what products and features that are coming out on the horizon. So you know in a year or two's time, you've picked the right product to grow with and scale with and get the benefits because they're investing in it wisely.
Yeah. Then now switching to the last topic, which is around talent. And it's an open question to the four of you. How do you think about talent in your respective teams? Now do you look for a different skill set? I presume that back in the days you were looking for analytical people. I don't know whether now it's more about bringing data scientists, is whether bringing or sort of merging developers with finance people. Curious to know what you guys think. So over to you. I don't know if Jay, you want to go ahead?
Sure, I can start. I mean, we're certainly in pretty unique times in terms of new roles, how existing roles are evolving as well. And this is certainly top of mind. We have 3 kids. Our oldest is about to graduate university. Our 2 younger ones are 1 year away. So for me, I think within our finance team, it's always been important to have core foundations in finance and understanding finance, accounting, analytical, quantitative skills, and then and also attention to detail. I think over the last 10 to 15 years, it's evolved where data analysis skills have become increasingly important, and then finance analytics teams, I think, are more common. AI, to me, AI is another step in that process, which is, I don't know that you necessarily need data scientists on your team because of how AI will help empower teams and other tools and platforms that are out there. But certainly, I think having the technical comfort with AI and leveraging AI will be important. But probably even more important is the softer skills of adaptability, of curiosity, of critical thinking, and being able to work across teams. Those have become even more important.
Yeah, I was going to say as well, I think the top thing I had noted was critical thinker as well. So you want somebody who, I think, train your existing people up, but look for the talent who can understand a process from end to end, understand how to automate it, understand how to get the quality data, and do critically think and challenge what report to produce by AI. I don't think necessarily need a data scientist unless you need to do really advanced modeling and analysis. And the AI tools are really good at analyzing vast amounts of data, but the challenge will be then, is this getting the right answer? And challenging that data that it produces, because that's my worry with my team, is that you might start getting a bit lazy over time with what AI produces because it looks really good, but it could be littered with errors. And maybe a long-term challenge for all the finance leaders is, how do we train the next generation of accountants and finance leaders coming through? How will they learn those critical thinking skills if AI does start to automate those entry-level jobs? Bit of a concern there as well. So I think, understand how the systems work, like end-to-end, because a data scientist can't do your month-end at the end of the day. It's going to have to be the accountants.
I'd say that, I always look about the behavior. So, I always want people with high integrity, and I think with in this world of AI, you need people with real, strong integrity and a can-do attitude. And the other big bit is to be skeptical and keep asking questions, and don't just take the data for what it is. And that analytical brain is really, really, critical in my view.
Yeah, just to add, so I don't think you need data scientists in your finance teams, right? But I think where we migrate into is you do need data engineers, right? Because the central team is often overloaded, in like a data-driven business. They've got priorities, so if you want your priorities to be advanced a little bit quicker, we are seeing that, having data engineers in FP&A or in treasury or whatever really helps to advance that agenda.
And maybe a comment from my experience as well at our company. Do you guys see, for example, because in our tech team we have maybe 60 developers at Embat, and you got these very senior developers that are actually reluctant from adopting AI, even though they are the best ones. And back to the point of Ross, they are actually the ones that can review what the AI does, but they are not true believers of AI. While then you have the very junior people that they've been sort of raised in the AI era, and they're actually, early adopters of it. Do you see this in your organizations? People are then like holding back from adopting AI themselves in your finance teams, and they'd rather use Excel files, spreadsheets.
So I'm probably sounding quite bearish, but I am bullish about AI, and what it can do, and I encourage all my team to use it. If you've not got that LLM that's in your environment as an executive assistant that can help you, if you're struggling with anything, use it, learn how to prompt it. You've got to keep using it, because otherwise you're going to be a dinosaur. So you've got to keep using it and find courses, understand it as well as you can. That's my advice, around AI.
Yeah, I'll say you do need the people in your business who do the jobs every day and do the tasks that could be automated. You do need to give them that space to go back and think from a higher level of every step I'm doing in my task today and how AI could improve it. Because the ideas will have to come from the people doing the work, I think, to really get the benefits and automate parts of their workflows each day.
100% agree. We still have 3 minutes left. I don't know whether we should see whether anyone has any questions that you want to ask to these finance leaders.
Hi. My question was really around the hallucinations, and as a finance professional, we need the data to be right. So often if we don't understand the process, so I think it was, yeah, it was to you, Antony, because you mentioned that people were finding, if you can't even get a cinema ticket right, God, I don't want that in my system.
Maybe, it does a lot of things right. So I think, you talk about data. So one of the good features is, if you ever tried Notebook LLM, it's amazing. You can upload all your data into a drive, and then it will summarize it. It will make notes. You'll even make a podcast out of it. But you just have to be mindful there is a percentage of hallucination in what it does. So if you sometimes notice it does something wrong, and then you say, oh, I thought it was this. And it's amazing how they go, oh, yes, you're right. And you're like, oh, okay. And it creates a bit of doubt. So it does, I think it's better, and it's probably, the person who's from Google there will probably be able to better answer this, but you just have to have that human in the loop, particularly for the big things, and just to be a little bit, it'll get better, but there'll always be an element of it, I think.
Yeah, I'll add as well, if you, as I mentioned before, you're choosing a system, probably that due diligence process, check how you can audit the data that the AI produces, and can it produce links that click through to the source data and the source report, so to help you validate what it's producing. I think that will be key as well.
Hi. When I have been introduced to AI previously, I've sort of been given broad advice saying, given tasks that you were given new grad. Obviously, that means there's a human in the loop, you're checking their work, etc. I suppose, at what point do we start going beyond that and giving them increasingly difficult and technical tasks to do, and how do we build in those robust reviews that mean that we are satisfied? Because, you know, certain tasks, it's quite difficult to do that review, that human check, that the information that's coming out of it, of the process, is sufficiently accurate and free from hallucinations.
One thing I think it is really useful for research. So Perplexity have a brilliant model. So if you're ever doing if you're in a growth company, a Series B, you're often doing market sizing and estimating sizing and thinking about the different markets. And you can really work it really, really hard and get it to keep doing critical thinking, keep asking it questions, and involve you into a fantastic report, you know, that would almost feel like BCG. You know, that's what I think it's really, really, you know, outside of the sort of smaller stuff. And that's where, you know, on the critical thinking side, that it can be really, really helpful.
I think the other piece I would add is it's similar to optimizations and forecasts, where there's certain models where it's a black box and you get the answer, versus others where there's more of the logic behind how did the recommendation come. Similarly with AI, I think having, for a period of time, human in the loop, but also the supporting information and data just to give the confidence in the results.
I'll probably add as well, if you're building out a process that's more complex and you've done the things I've mentioned before, put the technology in place and integrate it, then work on training one of your sort of senior staff members up, and can they then produce the reports and the analysis to your really high standards that you have. And if they can do it and get the accurate output with the data and the tools at hand, then I think you're in a position you could start to train AI and start to train it with the queries and the prompts. But I'd make sure you can do it with a person in your team first, and then you think you could trust AI to do it, and you're able to validate what AI has done because you've got someone in your team you've trained up to be a critical thinker.
Well, I think we overrun a bit now, so thanks very much to the four of you. And you guys have any other questions? I'm sure that they will be in the cocktail after. So thanks so much.